Wow. So is the TV version of us was
Are you
ramping
leaving
up,
us, Judge?
and we were coming to outnumbered overtime. OT, baby.
Judge, thank you so much for being
here.
Yeah.
Okay, but he does have to run.
I can't
Come
stay
back
for
anytime.
This. I have another commitment.
Well, you got to go do what you got to
on
do.
the second floor.
Oh,
You just need to get
have fun.
Patch.
All right, you got to get unplugged. While you're doing that, 197 comments were just rolling in.
Oh my gosh.
Arizona goat herder. Do they have goats in Arizona?
Yeah.
Okay.
What
Definitely.
did the Arizona goat herders say?
Coloring books. Are they serious?
I know.
Coloring books for cadets.
I sort of held back a little. If I were,
Well, let her rip.
It's just the infantilization of our generation.
Hi, Judge, we love you.
Thank you.
Thank you. That these men and women are going to have to go literally kill
Always
ISIS.
thank you, Judge. Thank you.
They're going to make them color in books. Bye, Judge.
What now?
Just that we're supposed to be training them to kill ISIS and defeat terrorism, and if they can't handle the stress of an exam, like the quote said, then I don't really know if that's the right job for you.
You know, it's interesting because during the TV version of us, I think it was you, Meghan, who brought up, are we seeing kind of the imprint of certain political values being laid across our military? This could speak to the issue why we see so many military people being considered by the current president-elect. It's kind of an answer back to some of the stuff that's been going on behind the scenes. I don't know. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it is or not. I mean, I definitely agree with Meghan. We have to acknowledge the fact that we need some of our people in this country to be tougher than the rest of us. We need that. That's just a harsh reality. I could not do what our police officers do. I couldn't see, adult bite marks on a child's hand. I couldn't see cigar burns on an infant's face. I couldn't see those things that they can. They have to be tougher than us. I don't have to be that tough. I can be soft. I love coloring with my kids. I love art. I love paint. I love all that stuff. But like you said, I'm not out having to kill ISIS. I'm not. Those guys need to have a different set of standards.
Yeah, which, by the way, when you prepare somebody, you help them cope with reality.
Right.
So if they're ill-prepared, they're really going to be harmed if they do survive the battles of war when they come home, even more so. You know about that more than anybody with your foundation.
Yeah, and there are plenty of things that we can do to help people. There are plenty of things to relieve stress that are outside of the traditional realm. But again, it is offensive because we're watching people emasculate men and saying that they should be more feminine. And we need men to be men, and we need women to be women. And in the workplace, we can all do it all. I get that. But there is a space and a time and a place for our masculinity and our femininity and how it contributes to the world.
Texas Man 79.
So well said, Taya.
Yeah.
Texas Man 79 says on the live chat on Subject, I have served and can tell you right now that over the years, politics have hurt the military by lowering standards, imposing political correctness over the best for the job, and tying the hands of our military to do their job to the best of their ability. So just
I wouldn't disagree with that.
Yeah, I'm liking the ones that I'm going to read, by the way. What are you seeing on Facebook?
There's a lot of responses about the coloring books, which I don't know. See, you think about it a while, and it's like if it doesn't hurt anything.
No, it doesn't hurt anything. It's fine, but it shouldn't be a mandate, and it is a little bit offensive to suggest that that's the stress release that they need. But yeah, like Napolitano said,
I don't know. Nobody helped me out with my stress before finals at school. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
you dealt with that on your own.
And that wasn't even prepping for war.
Yeah.
So the type of men and women who are attracted to service too and attracted to the military, these aren't going to be people that I think traditionally would have the stress of an exam impact their life so much that they wouldn't be able to cope, let alone with a coloring book. And just me, I have spent a lot of time around men and women in the military. They normally want to drink and have fun to relieve stress, from my experience. And buy them a six-pack and let them have some leave and hang out with their friends and see how much stress
work
that
out.
relieves.
Have you ever noticed how many guys in the military, and they get done with their day job and then they go work out? And I'm like,
or go shooting, things like that.
I'm impressed. Fish, surf. I mean, when I look at the guys and their stress release, it was a lot of those things too. There were very healthy behaviors that they can do to relieve stress.
Liam says, cops in my town give teddy bears to traumatized children. They themselves don't play with them, the police officers.
Yeah.
This topic really ignited the live chat because I know as we were going off the air on TV,
it's nuts.
Just to see that many on one topic all of a sudden. And I think that when you look at how and you know this with your siblings, the back-to-back-to-back deployments that some of our youngest in the military have served over the last few years, to think that they're not better prepared or prepared in a different way to handle the stress of that is really frightening on their behalf.
Right. And I think a lot of them were probably so offended by, that snowflake mentality that we were saying about cry-ins and mourn-ins after the election and things like that. They would like to think, and I think rightfully so, that they're stronger than that and that they don't need that kind of coddling. If they did, they wouldn't be in the military academy in the first place.
Yeah.
Another subject that people are kind of lighting up about has to do with the generals that President-elect Donald Trump is putting into play as he puts together his cabinets. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, what are they saying?
Are they saying negative?
Good or bad?
No, they're just curious to know. You gave the example 7 out of 12 with former President Nixon, I think it was. So people are just curious to know, well, how would that change the texture of things?
Okay, I have some thoughts on that too, because I think a lot of times you see a man or woman in uniform, and this goes for police again and military, and you assume that that's all they have to offer the world. And that is a big bone of contention for me, because they could have done a lot of things in this life. They're very intelligent people, and they're very dynamic people as well. So to suggest that because they wear the uniform, that's all they have to offer, and that they only see the world through one lens is ludicrous. All you have to do is look at voting records of people in the military. They're not all conservative. They're not all liberal. They're across the board because they're people. The thing that they have in common is that they're willing to sacrifice for the rest of us. So I don't think that we should assume that because somebody served, that that's going to be a negative when they serve in the cabinet.
You seen some shout-outs?
No, but I was also talking about Alan Mulally being thrown into the mix for Secretary of State. And, that with my business background, I followed him for many, many, many years. And coming from Ford, before that Boeing, I just think it is incredibly interesting and so different than what we have seen historically with recent presidents. I mean, look at the serious business background and expertise of some of his picks or considerations. Alan Mulally is an interesting guy, to say the least. But
why?
Secretary of State, he led huge turnarounds at some of this country's largest businesses. He's an extremely strategic guy. He's a likable guy. He's a nice guy. He's known to be a very nice guy. People loved working for him. In addition to, he's got a couple other of CEO types in the mix for Secretary of State, right? Who else does he have in there?
He does. He's got the ExxonMobil.
Oh, right. Rex Tillerson.
Rex Tillerson. Yeah. Pruitt is an interesting guy as well. I mean, I'm just reading here because this is coming in, and of course I'm following our breaking news cues. Josh Earnest right now, as we put this outnumbered overtime into play, is having his daily briefing. And remember, Scott Pruitt is being looked at as a choice to head the EPA. And Earnest on Pruitt, Josh Earnest, the press secretary for President Obama, says there is no denying that Obama's progress is at risk because we've got a president-elect who identified different priorities and has been critical of some of that progress. It's unfortunate, but elections have consequences. That's exactly what you were saying. So as they put this particular person, Pruitt, in place, perhaps to lead the EPA or to nominate him, whatever happens with Trump, the texture is going to change.
I think people on the left maybe didn't realize that there are still a lot of Republicans and conservatives who are on the very far right who are in power and who are going to go back to being in power. And I think I know that pretty much my entire adult life has been under the Obama administration. So if you're Josh Earnest, if you're a sycophant in the Obama White House, if you're one of the people that can't stop yourselves from crying when cameras are around just because we have a new president, which, by the way, I still think that's the stupidest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Somebody should bring him a coloring book.
The fact that Obama can't control his staff from openly expressing emotion, which, by the way, is where all this coloring book crap comes into play, because we're just supposed to never be able to handle anything or be stoic in defeat. I was so offended by that. But going back to it, it's like, what did you expect him to choose? Who did you expect him to choose? Who Obama would have chosen? Yes, there's a tone shift. Yes, elections have consequences. And I just find the way they're all behaving to be just very juvenile.
Well, and, if you look at how places like Flint, Michigan played in the election cycle, right? You saw President-elect Donald Trump talking about bringing jobs to Detroit and those blighted areas economically in Michigan in particular, the Rust Belt states, so on and so forth. And you just have to kind of look at his plan versus Hillary Clinton's plan, and people made a choice.
And you know who's looking at that plan? Wall Street. I know some people are watching this live, and you might watch this taped later, but it's 1 o'clock Eastern time on a Thursday. What are we, December 8th, a month after Trump was elected, and that's another record high for the American stock market.
Is it the enthusiasm for Trump and the excitement? Is that what's doing it?
That, and just a decision has been made. I mean, the stock market was left in limbo. There was so much uncertainty. Nobody wanted to participate in the market, and now he's in there, and they actually seem to kind of like what's going on.
Well, they do. They're pulling back regulations, which is always going to be stimulating stimulating to the economy, and they can see that small businesses actually have a chance to grow again. They're seeing that they're going to cut taxes so that we'll get the foreign investments back in the United States. All of those things are really good reasons for us to be optimistic and for our stock market to go through the roof in a positive direction. I think that all this talk about the EPA is kind of silly, because I think that somebody who fights the EPA is going to have a different perspective, but that doesn't mean that he's going to go in and just negate everything that was done. It means that he's got a little bit more diversity in his thoughts, and he's going to have to address what's already been done, which means he's going to have to think about it critically, and that's a good thing.
Kyle,
playing you.
See you. Thanks for being here. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.